Hey guys, it's major season, which means we're back with our Pickems and Fantasy Wombo combo. And as usual, I'm a week later than everyone else doing Pickems. I don't know how people get the Pickems out in the first 3 hours. That's dedication, but honestly, better late than wrong. Major starts in 4 days, so plenty of time to change Pickems. I'm still probably going to be wrong anyway. I know already that I've got some pretty crazy choices. So let's talk about them. I think for 3-0, the most obvious picks that most people are going to have are FaZe and Legacy. I'm going to go FaZe 3-0. I do think they are the best team here, and I expect them to go through pretty cleanly. However, I'm not going to put Legacy 3-0. Instead, I'm going to put NIP 3-0, which might be a controversial choice, and their seeding isn't the best for it either, so this is actually a very high-risk pick. But it's best of ones. We know that upsets happen, and I actually think Legacy will lose a series. In fact, I think they might lose their first series to FlyQuest, so that's an exceptionally hot take, but it is what it is. In the 0-3, I think I'm a little bit more by the books with this one. I think the Huns are the obvious pick to go 0-3, and the question of the second one, you could go Rare Atom, but going double Asia is a huge mistake, I think, and normally it is a South American team that goes 0-3. Last time it was Fluxo, but I think this time it is Red Canids. They have not looked the best domestically, losing to a lot of teams they shouldn't be losing to in South America, and I have the least faith in them going through. So they're my 0-3, and I think both of these good choices, Rare Atom, NRG, Fluxo, also decent options, but I think these are the lowest risk. In terms of teams going through, obviously I do have Legacy still going through. You'd be crazy not to have them, but I think it's 3-2. Gamer Legion, another very obvious choice. No one should be expecting them not to go through. I think Bait as well. I've seen Bait being picked as a 3-0 as well, which I don't hate, but also I don't think their current form is the best Bait that we've seen, and so I have them going through maybe 3-2. Paravision, another obvious choice, I think, especially with the current run of form of the team. They are on a brilliant streak online, and all the individuals look in really good form, so they're going to go through. I think also I have to put FlyQuest, as I always do. You might think this is a troll pick, but I always put FlyQuest going through, no matter what. So I have them going through here, even though it's going to be very difficult for them. But hey, if they beat Legacy in the opening game, I'm laughing, you're crying, it is what it is. For the final pick, there are a lot of good options. I think there's cases to be made for Fnatic, for M80, but I am going to go with another controversial pick here. And because I've disrespected South America in my 0-3s, I am going to have Imperial going through. I think this is a bit of a long shot and might actually completely ruin my Pickems because of the aforementioned FlyQuest pick. But with best of ones, I think it's certainly possible. I think Tri is an exceptional AWPer, and they've been looking pretty decent of late against some pretty okay teams. So I think in this sort of environment, if they can get a good veto, they can beat a lot of teams here. A little bit controversial, I think, with some of my picks here, but we try and have fun with the Pickems. Don't take it too seriously. Don't listen to my advice either. I think, I don't have the best track record when it comes to Pickems. I normally get through to the last stage and then drop the ball, but we'll see. Fingers crossed. That's my Pickems. Let's take a look at Fantasy. Straight out the gate, these prices on FaZe and Legacy are outrageous. I don't know how you can justify Jacob at 218 or even Karrigan at 195. I'm really surprised to see him as one of the most drafted players. I get that people are comboing FaZe, but I would never pay 195 for Karrigan. I think that's kind of crazy. And I think the only players worth getting here are Twist. Obviously, he actually does output the numbers that match that kind of price tag. And I think there's a case to be made for Brokey, just because against some of these lesser teams, he has a good chance of actually farming pretty decent rating. And for 216, that's not too bad for a player from FaZe who should be going through very comfortably. I think it's hard to make that case on Legacy because I see them kind of in the same way as 3D Max, where sure you have some players that are a lot more consistent with output, like Lato, like Demal, but I think overall you can have any player taking over a game, like Sadzen, like Nissim, it does happen. So I think they're harder to justify. And I think, if you can fit one into your team, good for you. But I don't really like their pricing to draft. Gamer Legion's getting into a bit more reasonable territory. I think particularly Towson, who's been forming really good lately. I think he's actually been their best performer the last month or so. So I think he's pretty good for 213. And I think even the stars on this team, they're going to go underrated just because of Legacy and FaZe. Bait, obviously you want MPL. He's no longer, IGLing. He's just fragging. He's looking really good. But again, 220, I don't know. I'd rather like spend a little bit more and get twists, or save a bit of money and get brokey. You could make a case for maybe a head trick or a Kenzie-Saw, but I do think Bait are also a difficult team to draft here, especially because they're not in the best form at the moment. Lin Vision, even a worse story. I'm a hard pass on Lin Vision. I don't even think they get through. They're not looking good at the moment. I don't want to draft them. M80, I mean, there's some decent price players. You know, you've got Slacks and Lake who are, you know, not pushing the bank, but I think for a team that, again, is going to squeak through at 3-2 if they're lucky, it's a pass for these sort of prices. Fnatic, the only player I'd be drafting is Blame F. For 217, even if Fnatic don't make it through, he's going to get you really good points in Fantasy. Even when they lose, he's posting great ratings. So I think Blame F is a really good choice here. And if you're thinking about brokey, maybe even consider Blame F. Similar kind of price tag, and he will always get you good rating. And Fnatic might actually surprise people here. So I like Blame F, don't really rate the rest of them. Love NIP's pricing already. I mean, I've got them going through 3-0, right? I think they go through no matter what. And I think that Kaspersky, obviously, great choice, 206. Ujax has been really, really good. He's sub 200 at the moment. So I don't think you can go wrong here. Even Snappy is a decent budget choice because he is, 15k less than Carrigan, and it's going to put out the same sort of rating. So I think Snappy, really good choice, great rolls as well. FlyQuest, you know, they're kind of the same pricing as NIP, which makes them a little harder to justify, but I like JKS and I like INS for their prices. Paravision, brilliant across the board. You definitely want to be drafting Paravision in some form, and you pick the player that fits your draft, but I think Nota is the one that stands out as the most notable for their price to performance. But Jame, you know, if you can get him, 200k for Jame, that's a steal. Don't love NRG's pricing outside of maybe Sonic for 188, just because he's really cheap. And if you have a bit more faith in North America over Oceania, then you could go Sonic instead of like a JKS if you're trying to make that extra money up. Don't love Fluxo. I don't really feel confident in them. And I think the only team of the last four that I'd be looking at is Imperial. I know I've got them as a long shot getting through in 3-2. And the only reason that I think they could be good to draft is because they are absurdly cheap, except for Try, of course. You don't want to draft Try, even though he's obviously the best player. But everyone else is like 20 plus K cheaper. And if you're drafting Twists, these could be players to look at, you know, like a Cello, brilliant headshot machine activation. It's like 70%. So you're going to get roll points no matter what. They could be worth considering. For my draft, I'm going to be sticking to my Pickems, guns, and I'm going to be going double NIP. They're really good value. Kaspersky and Ujax, my double up from them. I'm then going to grab Nota, who again, I think is just absurdly good value for 186. And then I'm going to go down and grab Cello from Imperial. I think is a ridiculously good budget choice. And with all of that, it leaves me with 232, which is exactly, well, not exactly, it's overkill to get me Twists, who, is the best player in this stage. So I want him in my draft, especially if Cello is going to maybe cost me. That is where I am at with my fantasy. Obviously, it's super risky grabbing the Imperial player, but I think the other four are all really solid. And I think that's the roll points from Cello. I mean, look at this, 72, 21. With some good boosters, I think that even if he doesn't perform the best and Imperial don't make it through, the points that I'll get from the others will be enough to have a pretty good run here. So that's my draft. That's my Pickems. Let me know what you think. How troll have I been? We'll find out. But yeah, good luck. And I'll try and get videos out for each stage, but no promises for stage 2 because I got ESL Impact next week. So anyway, that's all for now. And as always, good luck.